Welcome to We Talk Money 10X edition. Today, we're going to be talking about some of our biggest 10X or more plays. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing glasses, Trav, do you want to explain it?
Oh,
that was a scary moment.
Yes.
Yeah. This morning we were playing some pickleball and Chris took one right into the eyeball. And we were worried about you there for a bit.
Surprisingly, I don't think it's actually that bad, so I'm going to take these off. But pickleball, very, very dangerous sport. You've got to, now I guess everybody's wearing the glasses. So
Yes. I'm the nerd on the court wearing the glasses for good reason. Don't want to lose the eyes.
Yeah, there was a picture that was going around of a guy that actually lost his eye, and so now we're all doing that. But yeah, guys, I guess today we obviously got to talk about Bitcoin breaking out. You know, sometimes I look really dumb with my predictions or some trades, but Bitcoin has done pretty damn well for us the past year or so.
The past year? I mean
the past decade, but specifically the past year. I mean, we basically, bought almost the bottom there on that 19K pullback, and then have been trading it all the way up to now. As of today, we're up around 57,000, and it looks like we've got open air to all-time highs. So
is that God candle coming?
Is the God candle coming? I know we talked about that last show. And Trav, let's just, before we dive into looking at charts and stuff, why don't we talk a little bit about how the ETFs have been affecting Bitcoin's price? This is, I did a call for questions today on Twitter and stuff, and a lot of the questions that we're getting are around the ETF and how that's affecting price. And some people don't understand how that capital flow, if people are buying the ETFs, how that drives the spot price of Bitcoin. And, I guess just expand on how that works.
Yeah. I mean, with ETFs, when there are inflows into those ETFs, they buy Bitcoin. So, we've seen quite a big increase in the net inflows just in the past couple of weeks. In fact, yesterday, I believe, was a record inflow for not only the leading ETF right now, IBIT, but also all of the ETFs across the board are actually seeing very, very healthy inflows. And so I think we had something like 2.5 billion, maybe even slightly north of that, of net inflows into Bitcoin spot ETFs yesterday. I think we may even break that number today based on some of the volumes we're seeing.
It looks like we, taking a look at the screener here on Koifin, we are over $3 billion of trading volume amongst the top Bitcoin spot ETFs.
Yep. And that means direct inflows into spot Bitcoin. I mean, the custodians are out there buying Bitcoin so that they can have Bitcoin to back these spot ETFs. And it's a bit reflexive. We've talked about how buying begets more buying, and that's certainly true with ETFs. As we get more and more inflows, it pushes price up. That gets more people interested. Retail traders or people even with just normal retirement accounts now start to look at that and go, maybe I should have some exposure. So they put the buy orders in, and that just continues to feed on itself. So we've got price begetting price, inflows leading to price increases, which is leading to more inflows, which is leading to more price increases. So that's why, we talk about this God candle, sort of jokingly, but there may come a point at which we literally see just a massive candle because the volumes are so high. And they're still not, if you look at Google Trends data and Google search data, we're still not anywhere near where we saw just general population interest in Bitcoin, say back in 2021. So even with all the strong price action we're seeing now, we could still see a lot stronger.
it's been crickets. I tweeted about this because it's been an oddly quiet run towards all-time highs from retail.
Yeah.
Like, where is everyone? Where are all the Wall Street bettors and the crazy people that are like YOLOing and hodling, and why is nobody talking about this?
It is very strange because, yeah, a lot of people have not been paying attention. And I actually tweeted yesterday, let me just pull up this chart. I said, Bitcoin is up over 250% since the collapse of FTX, which was the low. Yep. You know, and oftentimes the ugliest, scariest moments in the market is the low, especially in Bitcoin. And the fact that we're up, 250% or more and retail still isn't awake is, yeah, it's very interesting. And I haven't been getting flooded with messages or calls like I did back in 2017, 2021. So I think what'll happen is if and when we break an all-time high, and then you've got CNBC that's like, oh my God, Bitcoin's at all-time high. That's where that reflexive, like, holy shit, FOMO moment is going to kick in, where people are going to be like, all right, this is really happening. I don't want to miss out. And a little bit of that FOMO buying creates a supply shock. And then all of a sudden there's no more Bitcoin, and the ETF custodians and companies are going to be reaching out to people like they kind of were a little bit over the past month, offering OGs and whales OTC like deals to get their Bitcoin. And then once the story, imagine if like the headline on CNBC is there's not enough Bitcoin to go around. Right. And then people really start to freak out and FOMO. And then your grandma's calling going, little
we
Ricky,
need some of this Bitcoin.
Go ahead and do that again.
We need some of this Bitcoin.
Yes, grandma, I know. I'll get you some. Okay. That's the conversation, right?
The kids are talking about it nonstop.
So yeah, that's, we talked about this last show, that the potential of a God candle. And look, we're not, moon boy, just like permabulls, but it's hard to ignore what's happening. And there's a reason we've been net bullish all year, and I have not had a single short throughout this entire bull run, because as we know, if you step in front of a Bitcoin bull market, you're gonna get slaughtered. And I did a little bit of like just diving into some of the guys that have been publicly shorting Bitcoin over the past 6 to 12 months. And it's very interesting to notice how many of them, and I'm not going to call out anybody by name, but it's interesting just to notice how their bias gets in the way. And like, you can just clearly see that they're not paying attention to what's actually happening. They're just putting forth what they want to have happen, and they're just missing the view completely.
They must be very unwell.
Oh man, they need to, yeah. So the past few runs that we had, 2017 and then the last run, I feel like price action was a little more like parabolic going into all-time highs, and this has felt a little like more sneaky. Is that correct? Or
so there's a couple things we can talk about. One, we are actually in the halving cycle, we are higher than we have been the prior two market cycles. So things are actually moving quicker if you're just looking at the halving cycle. But what happened is, like the trend was very slow during this the first 9 months here.
Yes.
When we look at the chart, for you guys that are listening on the audio, we're talking about from where the low was at 15K to where we finally broke the 30K resistance. It took a long time to get through that. And then price started to accelerate a little more from 30 to 50K. And then where we are now is prices even accelerating quicker. And let me just point this out real quick. If you look at a yearly chart, so a 12-month candles, you can see how beautifully Bitcoin trades. I mean, this thing has just been going like a magnet from the major areas on the yearly chart. So when in doubt, zoom the hell out, look at a 12-month candle, trade around the major areas. And that's what we've been doing the past few years. And in the community, I mean, this is why every market update, I start out looking at these big zones, because this is what matters most. And as long as Bitcoin trades around these major areas, this is where I'm going to look at first.
I think the key here is the price action since the last all-time high has been sustainable, meaning that, this past 6 months or whatever of that stair-stepping run, consolidate, pull back, it's been a stair step versus that parabolic quick move that's more sustainable. Therefore, when we do get to all-time highs, like you said, Trav, there are a lot of forces now. You have more sustainable price action. You have the ETF reflexive situation that you just brought up earlier. I think that there's a lot that could create that God candle or that God move that could take a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah.
If we had quicker, more parabolic price action over the past, 6 to 12 months, I'd be a little more concerned. But it hasn't been that way. it's just been sustainable.
Yeah, it's been a healthy trend. If you go back to like 2017 or 2018, I did a YouTube video talking about market cycles. I think I was the first guy in the world talking about the fact that Bitcoin was actually trading in market cycles. And I said, I kind of put labels on the different phases. Phase 2 is where you're in I call it a healthy trend. I think we're in that right now. We're not parabolic. We're not, nuts. We're still trading with healthy volumes. And something that's different this time, every market cycle, there's a different mix of market participants and places to trade, right? Derivatives or access to markets. And the thing that we have this time is spot ETFs. That's why it's such a big deal. And we can't underestimate what that can do to the extremely finite supply of Bitcoin.
Yeah, really interesting too, because those are essentially closed on the weekend. So it's interesting to see. Like I know I saw some charts on Twitter earlier this week that showed that there was a significant move, like in Bitcoin that Monday, as the markets opened and the Bitcoin ETF started taking in capital again. So it'll be interesting to see, if we get like pullbacks or just basically grinding action on the weekend, and then the week comes back and it's and it's back to bull mode. But we're also going to expect some pullbacks and consolidations along the way. Like it's not like we're saying that this thing's just going to go up every day for the next 3 months or year.
Watch
whatever.
it actually do that.
I mean, there is you can't take that scenario off the table. I mean, look what's been happening with stocks like SMCI or things like that, where it was like day after day after day, just massive candles. It's like, hey, I mean, that can happen. Yeah. That is on the table,
especially
as a possibility.
In crypto.
Yeah,
Or what's this little stock that Nikki's been up a 10x that has literally just been going up and up.
The little engine that could.
The little engine called Abercrombie and Fitch, which
we can get to that later.
Yeah, if you're not watching this on video, this is just an absolutely beautiful chart. Go pull it up. Ticker symbol ANF. And then we've got a couple of tweets from Nikki. Do you want to? Let's just dive into this one real quick because I just got to give you props. I mean, you're up like a 10x on this,
almost
right?
a 10x,
almost a 10x. Yeah. And here's like going back to 2019. Here's a contrarian thought. I think ANF isn't getting enough credit for the dumps they pulled the Abercrombie brand out of. And then you said also unpopular opinion. Abercrombie and Fitch is doing a great job at the turnaround. This was in late 2019. And I guess you were buying down here in the teens,
2019, right? Yeah, I was buying. I traded it in 2018. I noticed the turnaround starting in 2018. And then 2019, I invested for like a long-term hold. And I've been holding it. I accumulated during COVID. I accumulated before that. And now the chart, I keep looking at it and all just like, I'm holding it because I think that this is just getting started, to be honest. And the valuation isn't terrible. Like it's for a company growing a retailer growing 20%, revenues 20%. That's crazy.
And I think you said, so you've been taking profit, but it keeps staying
growing.
at the same value of your portfolio.
Yeah, it's now my biggest holding in my portfolio, in my active portfolio. And I keep taking profit, but it keeps growing because of this price action.
Yeah.
But people on Twitter have been tweeting recently, like, who could have seen this coming? This is crazy, And it's like, I keep tweeting out, like, I've been talking and blabbing about this for years, like years.
What was the thesis there?
It was a turnaround. Basically, I went into a store and I noticed that the clothes started, because Abercrombie kind of lost its luster when the CEO made comments about their customers, overweight customers or something like that.
That was the previous CEO.
The previous CEO was a jerk and he just had terrible guy. And the brand plummeted and just fell apart and nobody wanted to buy their clothes anymore. And then there's a new CEO, Fran Horowitz, that came on the scene. Just lovely lady. And she freaking took the brand, re-merchandised the whole store, redesigned the stores, took out the dim lighting. I took you into an Abercrombie in Mexico City, remember?
Oh yeah.
It looks so different. It's light, it's bright, the way that
I hadn't been in one in like more than a decade. And it was like, oh wow, this is a very different store from like our high school days,
But that was the CEO's vision of like taking away the smelly colognes and all of that.
The shirtless dudes.
Yeah, do you guys remember when they had the models out front?
Yeah.
Like, when did they stop that?
It must have been. It was sometime around
Probably
when
when
Fran
the
came in.
CEO
Okay.
Yeah, it would
So
have been.
they were still doing that like up till like a
I
few
think
years ago.
until the new CEO
Yeah.
Fran came in, they were still pulling that crap, and nobody liked it. And so finally, I went into a store in 2018, and I ended up texting you about it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Abercrombie's clothes are like completely different now. Like everything's different. The clothes are amazing."
They don't have the huge moose logo on
Yeah,
everything
like the-
anymore.
Oh,
You know,
And then like
got a little ridiculous.
each year would go by and I would get more of my girlfriends, I would tell all my girlfriends, and then I'd get more of my girlfriends being like, "Oh my God, Abercrombie, it's so amazing." And all of this was happening. And now finally the masses have caught up to it.
Yeah, we call Nikki our resident like retail expert because you also caught Lulu here at $9, right?
No, I caught Square at $9. I wish I caught Lulu at $9.
Where
I
was
caught
Lulu? Oh, Square
Lulu
was
at
$9.
around 50.
50.
When
Okay.
the see-through yoga
So
pants,
that's up almost a 9 or a 10x.
it's
from
it's
50.
up a lot. It's
But
not
yeah,
a
I remember
10X, but-
they also had like a scandal with what the CEO said about something.
Yeah, the CEO made comments too, and see-through yoga pants, and the stock plummeted, and I was like, bye, because I saw it just starting to grow, in the US. And so yeah,
No, that's such a good lesson of how you can look at like the real world and find trading ideas in your day-to-day life.
yeah.
I think it definitely some really amazing takeaways here. One of the big ones for me too is that, if you have a time horizon beyond 1 month or 1 quarter or beyond, a stock price that maybe doesn't look great on the chart right now, if your time horizon is a little bit longer and you're willing to look out and understand that there could be, a fundamental change in the business, and you start to see those green shoots and you start to have that patience to hold, that's where a lot of these big 10Xs come from. Sure, there's the SMCIs of the world. If you catch them at the right time, you get, those fast parabolic moves. But for the most part, like in the stock world, the 10Xs come from situations like these, where you have, just a great company that's slowly executing, or it's a company that's doing a turnaround and working through all the BS, and it takes time. Like
Lots of time.
yeah, like I actually joined you in this trade on ANF in 2019, and then I sold it. I sold it, I think, in 2020. And so, I missed most of the gains because I wasn't patient enough on that one, even though I knew the same things that you were talking about. I'd actually bought some clothes from there, which is funny because I'm a grown ass man. And like, Abercrombie used to be for teens, and but the clothing was actually really, I thought, quite nice and fit what I needed. So
That's hilarious.
but yeah, I've and I've had to take that lesson to heart and really, think about, what it means to hold through. Like this week, I actually had a perfect example where I was able to hold successfully on HIMS, for instance. And that one's been successful, but I also had to take a 50% drawdown on it. It was a company whose revenues were growing 80 to 90% on a year-over-year basis. When I bought it, it was down 40% from its SPAC price. And it was growing at 80, 90%. I'm like, okay, what am I missing here? Like this company is executing flawlessly. And yet when I bought it at 6, it then went to like 3. So, I had to suffer through a 50% drawdown on a stock where the fundamentals were amazing. And now today, it's up more than a double. So in fact, it's up 30% today on a strong.
That's wild.
strong
So
earnings.
is it something where the market was just missing this and like it truly was like undervalued for like a year or more? Or was there something else that the market was just bearish on, or like?
A couple things, a lot of skepticism about SPACs, a lot of skepticism about companies that were doing subscription services. We did see a lot of fall off in companies like Stitch Fix and Peloton after the pandemic. There was a host of companies that had gone public via SPAC or IPO that were subscription-based companies, consumer-based companies that just sort of petered out. This one, though, really caught on. And the CEO is just excellent execution. They've done a really good job expanding the business into new verticals. I still think there's a long runway just in consumer healthcare in general. So yeah, there was just a lot of skepticism about anything that had gone public via SPACs, skepticism about anything consumer subscription based. There was some concern too, I think, about it was slightly unprofitable for, the few quarters after it had gone public, but it was improving each quarter. So yeah, I think all those things contributed, and ultimately you just had to have patience and see that even though the stock market wasn't rewarding you yet, that, everything was still on the right track. It's really hard to do that though.
Yeah.
Really hard.
It takes conviction. I mean, that's the same thing with Bitcoin bear markets, right? It's like, and granted, I don't have my whole portfolio in Bitcoin, but bear markets, when you have like a big drawdown of your net worth, it takes a lot of cojones and conviction to like stick with it and not sell the low. Everybody knows buy low, sell high, but there's a reason why nobody does it, because it's fucking hard.
Yeah. And there are a lot of investments we've talked about that you don't want to hold, and you don't want to bag hold if something fundamentally is broken, or, you know, this thing that's gone down 80% could go down another 99 or 100%, you know, if it's not a great asset where the fundamentals are actually starting to work. So, you know, you can't just blindly buy and hold through everything, but on a lot of things, like you said, where, you know, the fundamentals at their core really haven't changed, you know, that's when you really have some opportunity.
And that's the skill you have to develop, right? Like, and I want to be clear, we're talking about, you know, winners here, but I've had plenty of losers, but the thing that's kept me in the game with my active stock picking portfolio is I have been able to have my winners be way larger than my losers. If I lose 100% and I'm gaining a 10x on a, you know, something, or a 5x even, or 3x even, you know, and I'm properly position sizing those losers to be smaller and the winners to be bigger, that's how you win. And typically I'm positioning into these things that I'm super confident. Like Abercrombie, I had so much conviction. I was quite confident about it. I was happy to size into it, versus something that I've lost money on. You know, it usually loses, and I'm like, I just didn't have the conviction with. It just works out that way whenever you develop that skill set of A, position sizing and risk management, and B, learning the fundamentals and how to analyze the fundamentals.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. Do you think Bitcoin's going to hit a new all-time high before, close to, or after the halving, which is coming up in late April? So we've got, what, about 2 months?
I'll say before.
Before? What do you think?
Before?
Oh, shit. Okay.
I think it happens in the next.
I think we're all in agreement then. I was just curious what you guys thought. Yeah, if you would have asked me like before the ETF approval in January, I would have said, I don't know. We got to see what happens. But now that we've had the ETF approval and it's looking like there's so much damn capital coming in, I'm like, yeah, I think before. And you know what? I've been growing my beard out a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see this. I think I'm going to keep it at least until we hit all-time high. So I hope it's within the next couple of months.
So,
otherwise, I'm going to look like a homeless man.
as the wife, like, I hope it hits it soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of liking this.
I think that your beard looks great now, but like
in a couple months, it could look
too long of a beard.
rough.
I don't know about
Get some
that.
food in there, you know. I think it could happen in a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it could happen in weeks.
I think it's only 20% from the highs. So
less than that now. I think we're about 15%.
Okay,
from
that's a
highs.
sneeze. That's a sneeze.
Yeah,
for
I mean
Bitcoin.
that. I hate to say like this, but yeah, I mean that could be one day.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be, but it could be. Like, how many 5-10% days have we seen in Bitcoin? Like it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yep.
All right, we've got a lot of questions to get to, so I sent a call out in the community and on the Twizzler. And the first question that I wanted to pull up was asking about, did you guys see Pelosi's new trade?
Oh, boy.
PANW.
Oh.
So we've been pointing out, a lot of people have been pointing out the fact that Congress people are some of the best traders in the world. And it's amazing at their skill level. It's not like they have any inside information or anything. But Pelosi bought, I think, another $1 million or $2 million worth of PANW. Do you guys know anything about this, or have you looked at it?
I mean, I knew the stock.
I know Palo Alto Networks somewhat. Yeah, it's a cybersecurity company, actually a pretty good software company. You know, probably not the leader anymore. I mean, it's one of the larger ones, but I would say, CrowdStrike probably seen as the leader. There's some other up and comers too that are pretty large now, like Zscaler, things like that. But Palo Alto has been around a long time. They reported their quarter, I believe it was last week or week before. It wasn't actually a great quarter. The stock had gapped down, and yet Pelosi or Paul Pelosi, who knows if it was Nancy or Paul, but one of them bought, pretty significant multi-million-dollar position in some longer-term call options. And the stock was up like, 9-10% yesterday on the news of that. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's because, her last call option trade that was publicly posted at the beginning of the year was a trade in some NVIDIA call options, and that's done very well.
Yeah.
So now,
I think several million on that one, right?
Yep. So now everybody's like, let's go in after Pelosi. She's got to be right. So yeah, I'm sure that there are going to be some trades she's not right about, but man, I mean,
I don't know. She's kind of nailing it.
yeah. Well, it's easy when you got insider info,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's infuriating and hilarious at the same time to see these
she's a
people
crook.
doing it in the public eye, and they're not being shy about it. They don't give a shit. Anything that we did, if we did this, we'd be in prison for decades, but they do it and they're smug as shit about it.
Yeah, no, they're crooks. I mean, I'll just say that they're crooks. I don't care what you think about their politics. This type of activity, you know, is clearly just should be illegal, and you know,
Trade like a pro.
Oh, goodness.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's a picture of her and it says trade like a pro. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay, cool. So anyway, I don't even know what the question was here. Any thoughts on Pelosi's PANW conviction play? I don't know. I mean, I just think it's funny.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. To be honest, like I said, their last quarter wasn't all that great, but you know, I'm sure cybersecurity stocks are pretty well positioned just generally. I mean, I think the spend on cybersecurity will continue to go up in the years ahead. Most of those companies are well positioned. Some of them look a little bit richly valued on near-term numbers, but you know, I'm sure she probably knows that there's going to be, you know, more cyber attacks or whatever on certain targets, and you know, more government contracts for companies like Palo Alto. So yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It's sort of like you see front running of investors like Warren Buffett. When he goes into a stock, the stock will be up, 7-8% the next day. Or it even happened, I think, for a while from, Dave Portnoy or people like that. It's just like the retail crowd will follow people. Burry, it even happened on some of Burry's trades. But Pelosi, that could be a very profitable trader to follow.
Yeah.
The best
when they have all the inside info. Yeah. All right. Next question. Crypto Nate was asking, he was just asking about like profit taking strategies. And again, we can't give personalized financial advice on the show. We are not your financial advisor, but I'll just tell you how I'm thinking about this. I'm letting price action be a guide, and I'm waiting for either reversal patterns or a parabolic blow off top. In the last market cycle, I actually sold quite a bit on the head and shoulders when things were getting overheated in the spring of 2021. So for you guys watching the video, on this right shoulder here, when Elon was on SNL pumping Doge, and I forget where I was, but I was in an elevator and these preteen girls walked in and they were bragging to each other about their NFT gains. And I'm like, this is the top, sell it all. This is it. But I saw the convergence of market sentiment, overhyped, everybody had the stupid ass laser eyes thinking we were going to 100K, the reversal pattern on the daily chart, all of that together. I took a lot of profit on a bunch of positions, and I publicly tweeted about it and obviously sent alerts. But right now, I mean, we're what I consider phase 2. I don't think we're parabolic yet. Could we have nasty shakeouts? Absolutely. Could things get ridiculous and see a God candle? Absolutely. Could we, consolidate through the halving like we have the past 2 halvings? Sure. All of those are possibilities. Right now, I'm just holding. And I'm interested in bull market setups. That's it. I'm not shorting in front of this. I'm not trying to get cute.
That's what I wanted to say. Anyone thinking about shorting this needs to check themselves before they wreck themselves.
Yeah. I'm also in quite a few alt positions. So I bought ETH around 2K to 2,200 in anticipation of a short squeeze. So that's really starting to pay off. We've got open air, what I call open air. There's just no strong resistance to basically that 4K zone, which this was in that same area. I closed a lot at this top in ETH on the last market cycle. So yeah, I don't know. It's just cool to see the conviction paying off here. And I know we got some questions, and I know there's probably people thinking right now, like, shit, I'm feeling FOMO, or I'm not in enough, right? You never feel like you're sized big enough when things are moving, and you always feel like you're sized too big when things are moving against you. But just know, I mean, there's going to be more setups. The market isn't done. The bull market's not over. And if we look at, alts right now, if we look at Total 3, we went into what I considered altcoin season in December of last year when we broke above 450 billion here. And we've been in altcoin season since then. So anybody that's been trading alts, hopefully you've been making money because there's a lot of opportunity in things outside of just Bitcoin and ETH. One thing you have to be careful of right now, though, is getting cute and expecting that that your alt is going to outperform Bitcoin, because a lot of them have not. And I actually I wrote an article here last week on the Daily Doe, just explaining my bull case for Ethereum. And one thing that I said, though, is like a common mistake crypto traders make is they look at their crypto gains just in terms of fiat, but they don't think about like, what if Bitcoin went up more? And, you know, instead of just holding Bitcoin, you took on more risk and you made less profit because you were trying to quote unquote diversify into another crypto asset. So really what you want to look at is the alt chart in comparison to Bitcoin's value as well. So like, for example, if you look at the ETH BTC chart, I made a case for why I think that this could be a bullish chart or a multi-year support. And you guys can read the newsletter if you want to see that. Right now it's consolidating and still below resistance, but I think that this ETH has a potential that if things get crazy, it could play catch up with Bitcoin in a big way. So ETH is my second largest position. Bitcoin is still my largest, but I am quote unquote diversified, but I'm trading way fewer positions than I have in prior crypto market cycles. That makes sense.
Yep.
Trade less, profit more.
That's right. Hell yeah. Trade less, profit more. I'm not in here scalping. I'm not getting cute. I'm just letting these big positions ride. So
I'm not getting cute.
not getting cute, baby. All right. How can having only 3 rate cuts affect a bullish 2024 year? Yeah, let's look at the probabilities of that.
Yeah, we're not getting all the cuts everyone thought in the beginning, right?
We'll get the cuts.
We'll get the cuts.
Yeah, what do you
Will
think
we
we're
get the
looking at
cuts?
here? Let's see the
Fed can talk tough. We're getting cuts. We're getting cuts.
Maybe like
probabilities.
how many
now,
cuts you think?
they keep getting kicked out. I don't know. Let's see. Right now, it looks like June is still in play. What do you think?
Oh, I don't think.
I
June.
definitely think it'll happen before June.
Before
You
June?
do?
The Fed's going to look really silly when CPI in March, in April, in May prints below 3%. If it's in the 2s for 3 months in a row, how are they not cutting in May? We'll see. But that's my prediction. These probabilities move around a lot. You know, the probabilities based on the CME futures around Fed funds moves around quite a bit.
Yeah.
It could move around in 3 days and change completely based on, you know, if there's some financial crisis event or some other major world event, or, you know, if there's a data report that comes out showing unemployment, you know, unexpectedly ticked up a little bit, or if the CPI report comes in, you know, the next one comes in at 2.85, you know, and it's like these little minute things can move those probabilities quite a bit, quite quickly. So I wouldn't put too much stock into them. I know people are starting to worry about the number of cuts priced in or not priced in. I still think we get at least a few cuts this year, whether it starts in May or June or July, probably doesn't matter too much, to be honest, you know, unless you're trying to, you know, pick where the S&P is headed in 2 weeks. I don't think it really ultimately matters too much.
So do you think the bull market in stocks is going to continue through the end of the year, or do you see any big black swans that could get in the way of that?
We still have elections. You know, we still have a lot of uncertainty over, particularly in the US, over federal elections, you know, later this year. I think that's going to create some uncertainty and volatility, particularly in sectors where you have big impacts from fiscal spending. So, you know, your alternative energy sector, your energy just generally can have a big impact from fiscal policies. And so that's a sector. Healthcare is another sector where you can have big impacts. You know, anything related to US-China relations, so Chinese stocks or US stocks that have, you know, significant amount of supply coming from China still. So definitely areas like that, I will continue to see, I think, volatility from that uncertainty around the elections. Whether or not that's enough to tank the market, probably not, just because, you know, typically we don't see that. We typically don't see like an election outcome, at least in the US, have a big dramatic effect on market direction.
Yeah. There's a lot of data backing that.
Yeah. So under both administrations, stock market can do very well. So it doesn't really ultimately, I think on a longer term basis matter too much. But, some people their confidence levels may change. We may see, people pull back on risk ahead of the elections, things like that. We're still going to get pullbacks this year. Right now we're in a very strong environment in stocks and crypto and everything. But I do think there will be some pullbacks for probably some reasons I can't even tell you today.
Come on, man. Where's your crystal ball?
If NVIDIA whiffs on an earnings report in Q2 or Q3, I mean,
it's all over. Oh, man. All right. I think we may have answered a question like this last week, but Nikki, tax strategies for Bitcoiners. There's a couple that Code Monkey listed here. 1 year HODL or more for long-term capital gain.
Yeah.
Donate to your church. What else? Any other
Well,
tips?
you need to donate to a qualified charity.
Right.
So just make sure that, they're qualified, they're registered and qualified. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about their specific church, but just be aware.
The Church of We Talk Money is not registered.
But if you want to donate to the show, if you made a lot of money,
we will take Bitcoin.
Yes.
On a taxable or whatever basis.
We don't even have like a donation button or anything like that. Whatever. Okay, maybe we'll throw up an address. Who knows?
So I would say definitely controlling your selling. Like that's a problem a lot of people have is they get, they sell too much at one time instead of maybe like breaking up the selling if they have the ability to. So that's one. Opportunity zones. That's another one. You can roll the gains into an opportunity zone fund, but that has its own challenges and you really got to know what you're doing with that. But it's really the only like 1031 exchange equivalent for real estate, for stocks. It's like the only thing really.
Tax advantaged accounts now, obviously with the spot ETFs, maybe, if you're in those, you don't have to worry. But I guess if you're in a taxable account, there are some options with trusts, like if you're, wanting to leave some portion of that to, your future generations, your kids, whatever, there are some trusts that you could set up as well. Some things you could do on that side if you're in that, type of tax bracket.
Yeah, you can maybe gift the Bitcoin to somebody that will pay a lower tax rate. Essentially, there's a trust strategy for that too, putting it in an irrevocable trust. Unfortunately, in taxable accounts, we don't have as much flexibility.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about this in our Discord channel in the tax chat. People have different situations.
Tax location is really big. I teach about that.
All right. I'm grouping a lot of these questions together because we're getting a lot of like, what's price going to do questions. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but there's a couple questions here I want to group together. Do you have like either bull or bear case scenarios for things like Coinbase, Robinhood, and Jack Lewis was asking, Trav, have you changed your view on like Bitcoin miners as just a group? They seem to be doing pretty well with Bitcoin's price. But do you want to speak to the risks of miners, or has your thesis changed at all? I know you wrote about that in the newsletter, and I've got Coinbase's stock pulled up here, which had a breakout and is now at a new high on the year today. Any thoughts on either of those stocks or, exchange stocks or broker stocks?
They're all moving, very positively lately with, the strength in Bitcoin and crypto generally. So, from that aspect, it makes total sense. I still stick by my point made in the video that long-term, these crypto miners just don't look like very good businesses. Now, I'm obviously wrong in the short term. Price action is making me look stupid on things like Mara and every other miner. But, again, I think the question is for a long-term hold in these stocks, if you're looking at, adding these to a portfolio and holding on a longer term basis, what do the economics of the business look like? And I still think those are very questionable, especially after the halving comes and you've got block rewards that get halved.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you have some offsets with new things like ordinals, which we've talked about, that add some fees and things like that. But, if you go into a flatter cycle of price for a while, you'll see that these miners will struggle. They'll struggle because you've got a lot of competition. Miners just keep adding more rigs. So the difficulty of the network continues to grow and grow and grow. So you've got a treadmill that these miners are running on. They have to sink a ton of capital into replacing these miners, which burn out every 2 to 3 years. Or, as we've seen in the last couple cycles, the miners actually get much, much better. And so your old gen miners are much less efficient. And so, these miners have had to replace each new class of miners with new classes of miners that cost even more. So if you look at through the cycle earnings of these companies, they're very, very weak in terms of the net income or cash flow that they generate. Because, and that's why you see those companies continually raising capital. You've seen Mara, you've seen Riot, you've seen every other major Bitcoin miner have to raise equity capital. In fact, some of the times they do that, it's in bear markets. So it's at the worst possible time when you get that dilution in the shares. So that's the concern with miners long term. I still think they're very challenged business models. Right now, obviously, when you're in the bull cycle, it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, so I guess there's two ways to think about it, right? Like one is typically what you do, which is a long-term like value view. Like, is this thing worth holding for multiple years? And in the miners' cases, it's harder to want to take on that risk, right? Whereas like in a bull market, can you trade them? Sure, right? You can swing trade them. But it's like for anything like that, other than the spot Bitcoin asset itself, whatever you're trading, if it's MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Bitcoin miners, Bitcoin future, any derivative or sympathy play on Bitcoin, you better be getting alpha above Bitcoin because you're taking on more risk.
Yeah. And I'll make a short-term prediction, which is I would expect actually the miners to start underperforming about a month or maybe even 6 weeks ahead of the halving. So that starts basically in March, maybe mid-March. But I think in a couple of weeks, we could start seeing the miners underperforming Bitcoin unless we're in such a strong Bitcoin price environment and we are hitting new all-time highs daily. Then again, maybe that just overwhelms it. But I do think there's a decent chance people will start to worry about the miner economics post-halving. And so you could start to see them underperform Bitcoin here as we approach the halving.
It's a bummer because that was a nice breakout chart set up on Mara. If you look at it, it's like resetting up.
Yeah, look, I could be wrong. This isn't just my prediction.
Look, it's resetting up for that breakout zone.
Yeah, there's another resistance level here in the low 30s.
Back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not short them. I'm certainly not betting against them. I just think you got to be careful. And like you said, what are you playing for? There's lots of ways to get BTC exposure now. So do you really, you've got levered beta with the miners, and that can work against you if you get a correction or if these things start to underperform ahead of the halving. So you just got to be aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, like I tell people in the community right now, it's like a choose your own adventure. Like there's many ways to build wealth right now. You either keep it simple and you go fewer positions, heavier in spot assets, or you trade, different weird sectors where maybe you get alpha, like in ordinals or altcoins, things like that, or miners. But just know anytime you're trading something other than the spot asset, there's additional layers of risk there.
Yeah.
We
have also talked in the community quite a bit about option strategies with the miner stocks because there has been opportunities to leverage that. There's very high implied volatility priced into the options on these miners because they've been moving in such wide ranges. And so you can kind of use that to your advantage and earn some extra income along the way. Say if you do covered call strategies or if you do like callers or things like that, you can actually create some interesting strategies even using the options to maybe even add a little bit of alpha. So if you're in the community, we can continue kind of strategizing about those.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. All right. Wilson's got a good question here. At what net worth can I quit my job and travel indefinitely? Actually, we've got a model for that. So over the past couple of months in the community, we've been talking about the idea of the escape velocity portfolio, which simply explained is when you have a portfolio that grows at a faster rate than your dream lifestyle burn. So say your portfolio is kicking off, $1 million a year in gains and your lifestyle burn is $300K a year. That means that over time, even though you're drawing down from your portfolio, that $300K a year or whatever, make up a number, your portfolio gains are going to outpace your withdrawal. So even traveling the world and living your best life, you're going to continue to get wealthier over time. I think, in my opinion, that is the best definition of true financial freedom, where you don't have to work, you don't have to add additional capital to your portfolio, and you live your dream life and you get richer on autopilot, right? Is there a better way to say that or to define that?
No, I mean, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was easy.
There's that part,
but in the something that Travis has actually been working on is building out a spreadsheet. He's the Excel god. So the model genius over here.
I know. I saw the spreadsheet. I was like, damn.
Yeah. So we will be releasing that to everybody in the wealth building community. So you can actually look at this and run your own scenario based on how old you are, what your current portfolio looks like, what your dream lifestyle might cost, how to think about your portfolio holdings between Bitcoin, stocks, real estate, whatever's in there. And then you can forecast different returns for those different assets and then get a blended return rate. It's incredible. I'm so stoked to get this out.
Yeah, we've been collaborating on it
you.
together, and yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's going to be really helpful for people to just be able to look at those numbers and figure out, well, okay, well, what is the number that I'm going to need at retirement, or at the point at which I'm trying to get rid of my job and live off my portfolio, and like how many years can I have at X scenario given X return and X percentage inflation. So yeah, we put a lot of time into thinking about it, and also try to make it so that it's not too overwhelming, so that you put in a few key variables, and then you can kind of look at the scenarios and see what that looks like. What level of portfolio do you need to just say, screw it, I'm out?
Yeah. Yep.
Or to have less stress.
Yeah.
Do more things you love, even if you're still working,
Yep.
Yeah.
More flexibility.
Yeah. Because I think true FU money is when you have that escape velocity. It's like you don't have to work, but if you choose to, you're probably going to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of rules of thumb in finance, like the 4% rule, like the 4% withdrawal rate rule, but those are like a little bit more imprecise. So we're trying to be, just a little bit more precise and helpful, I think, with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like some people just don't want to run out of money by the time they die. Others just want to continue growing and have a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let's shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
Let's go. So, okay. Next question. Satoshi Gokumoto. There we go. What techniques can be used for balancing energy and money into actual investments like stocks compared to, personal investments or career investments? For example, deciding to spend a month learning to code or deciding to learn to trade stocks. I think this is a great question. And this is something that also in the machine, we call it the wealth building machine, kind of step 2 is thinking about what activities can you do that get you the highest return on time. And a lot of times the best monetary and kind of percentage returns you're going to get are from a business that you build and a skill you develop. So I know for me, it's a combination of building a business and also swing trading crypto. And for you guys, it's a combination of value investing in stocks and then also shorter term kind of swing trading.
Yeah. I'm also, very deep into the weeds on the financial planning stuff. And I spend a lot of time learning about that stuff. And,
yeah, but you do a combination. So you have your non-market related income, we have the community that we do and we get revenue from the show and stuff like that. But, obviously that's a great return, but also there's a return in the market. So I think the answer, in my opinion, is you can do both, right? You can develop a skill and develop income outside of the markets that you can feed your investing machine and then, learn how to invest the proper way in stocks or crypto or whatever. So take your active hustle income from the skills you developed and then also develop the investing skills and use that to get a higher return than you could maybe just buying the S&P or something.
And I would say generally the way I think about this is if someone is younger or if they're in a dead-end job and their income levels aren't where they want or need them to be, you're going to spend a lot. I think you should spend a lot more time on learning a new skill set or, trying to pick something up that will actually generate income, because it's actually something that you notice when you look at our escape velocity portfolio stuff is that, a portfolio can only do so much. Even if you're a really, really good investor, there's only so much you can do with a small size portfolio if you're trying to make that last for a long time. And so what you really want to see on the front end is a lot of income and a lot of contributions to get that portfolio to a healthy level. And then you start to think a lot more about, okay, how do I optimize returns? How do I get my returns up from, 8% average to 12% average, which can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a decent sized portfolio first. And so I think a lot of people probably should focus on the skill side, the income side, especially earlier in their career, or if they're at a point where, the portfolio value is just not where it needs to be. So
yeah, like I think for anybody in their 20s, like the focus should be on like living super cheap and like not just saving as much money as possible, but like getting that money invested. Like, whether it's Bitcoin or stocks or something, just like don't have a bunch of cash sitting in a bank account, get it deployed, get a return on that. And yeah, like you said, Trav, like focus on building skills that can jack that income as big as possible, as fast as possible. Because the faster you can kind of front load those accounts, the better your returns are going to be a couple decades down the road.
Yeah. And you've got a lot of time to focus and learn on investing, later in life, presumably, for most people, like, if you're in your 40s or 50s, you hopefully still have 30, 40 years where you can really focus on that. But like you said early on, like focus on really getting that, that initial capital in there.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Nick, as the financial
No,
planner?
I mean, that's what I meant when I was saying, like, I dive into like the financial planning stuff because I use it in my own life. It's like I'm building that skill to increase my tax savings and build my wealth quicker. That's how I've done it, kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that developing your, what do we call it? Personal capital, or there's a word for it, but yeah, your personal capital. It's like what you can control is your skill set that can help you earn more money.
Well said. All right. Got a couple questions about like different narratives. Like thoughts on the DPIN narrative or AI crypto coins. Like, I'll just say this. There's a lot of like sectors in crypto. I'm not going to make an argument about like which ones have true utility and which ones don't. I'll just say that in crypto, most of my holdings are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then a few other alts. And I look at all these narratives and I'm like, cool, like some of them might work, some of them might not. I just know most of them are going to fail over time, as like many startups do. And I trade them to accumulate more Bitcoin and ETH for the most part. So I don't know. I mean, we could have a whole show talking about the pros and cons of, different like technology in the crypto space. I don't really get too much in the weeds on that kind of stuff. I just trade the charts and market sentiment. I keep it simple because that's where I find I get, talking about return on time. That's where I get a good return on time is like saying, I'm not going to spend 40 hours a week researching 1,000 different projects. I'm going to spend maybe 20 minutes on the higher quality ones, understand them, and then move on and see if there's a trade there.
My guess, this is someone that's not in the crypto ecosystem, that's not spent a lot of time looking at the projects. My guess is most of the AI cryptos are
bullshit.
Yeah. Thank you. Because I was going to
say it for you.
I was going to say scams, but scams might be a little too strong of a word.
They just have a low probability of really doing anything or like really having any real value.
Destined for failure, destined to eventually fall 98%, and you can probably trade them in this cycle where we've got AI as a hot theme. The same is true in stocks, by the way. We've got a couple AI stocks that are just trash companies that are trying to latch on.
Shit shares.
Shit shares. Yeah. Shit codes. They're trying to latch onto the theme so that they can, sell stock and retire themselves. But,
we're happy
they're not
to trade that.
Yeah. I mean,
we're not investing it.
Yeah.
Phil was asking, do you regret canceling your Cybertruck order? Not at all.
No.
Especially not after seeing some of the reviews I've been seeing about the Cybertruck.
Really?
Yeah. Quality issues, as we've seen.
But that's Tesla in general. I mean, they have
It's true.
quality issues.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, just the whole idea of, if you live in a city, maybe, but I don't know, even seeing some of the reviews, for anybody that doesn't know, my most popular tweet of all time was me publicly posting my cancellation. And I mentioned Elon because it was when he said they were not going to take Bitcoin. This was back when he was pumping Doge on Saturday Night Live. I'm like, you're causing so many people to lose so much money. And it was, he created the top in Doge, and anybody that followed him in lost their ass. But he said he wasn't going to take Bitcoin, and it was just weird. So I canceled my order and I put that out there, and it was like 50% of people were like, yeah, good for you. Other 50 were like, you dumbass, I'm going to take your spot in line. But no, I think I'm going to stick with a good old gas or diesel, probably just regular gas V8 engine for now. I don't know.
Doesn't it lose a lot of range when you like haul and do things that trucks are supposed to do?
Yes.
Isn't that
and the bed is weird. Like some of the reviews, anybody that actually uses a truck, like we have a lot of property that I actually need to use a truck for. It's just impractical compared to like an F-150 or something. So maybe in Gen 2, maybe, but for now, no. And especially out in the country where we have a ranch, there's just not enough charging stations. And if you have one at home, I guess it's okay, but I'm not ready for it.
Yeah.
Are you ready to jump on the train?
No, it's not really the vehicle for me, but I could see the appeal right now as an early adopter. I know someone that got one that's like, man, I get stopped every day, like 10 times a day. People are like taking pictures of it on the highway. Probably not very safe, by the way. But it's getting a lot of attention. But when there's, a few more thousand of these things on the road, it really won't probably matter too much. But
yeah.
I
saw one yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. I don't like the style.
The look, yeah.
I know some people love it. I just think it looks like shit, man.
It's a very polarizing looking vehicle.
Yeah.
Some people really love the look of it, love that it's so different. I do think it's kind of gotten weird how like every traditional automotive brand, especially in like the crossover category, like everything looks the damn same.
Yeah. You know what I do like? I like the Rivian.
Yeah.
I like the Rivian truck. Like it looks nice. I think that looks way better than the Cybertruck. I mean, look, it's not my favorite, but I think this looks better at least. I don't know.
I hate the headlights.
I think like you said, it's polarizing. It's 50-50. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. I actually like those headlights.
You do?
You don't like them?
I don't like them. They're weird looking. They look like eyes.
Yeah, they do.
But I do think it looks more like a usable truck. But I mean, I don't know anything about trucks.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, guys, we can start to wrap it up there. Is there anything you guys are looking forward to next week or over the next week?
I'm going into retail earnings season.
Oh,
that's my season.
Cool.
Like we've got a few retail earnings reports, but there's still a lot more to go.
We need to know what the next A&F 10-bagger is, Nikki.
Yeah.
I will be looking for it.
Let us know.
There we go.
We do a stock market update class Monday mornings. So when you find the next 10-bagger, bring it to our attention in the class.
Yeah, there could be something with Levi, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's as strong of a case as Abercrombie.
Is it Levi's the ticker?
Yeah, you know Levi.
I know
jeans.
Levi. Yeah, I mean it's popular overseas.
Very.
The stock chart kind of looks like Abercrombie, like kind of down in the dumps, and
they acquired a athleisure brand, Beyond Yoga, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll have the juice, but we'll see.
Cool. Trav, what are you looking at?
Yeah, just a lot of interesting stuff on the stock side. I've got some ideas that are working in the current market, and I've got pickleball tournaments coming up in March, so I'll be on the game for that. But
we're in a league, so
yeah,
we're gonna get our chops up.
Gonna try not to lose any eyes.
Yeah, definitely gonna be wearing the goggles from now on. I don't care if I look like a nerd.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah,
highly recommend.
I don't care how nerdy it is.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Bitcoin does for the rest of the week. I mean, look, as of today, so we're filming this on Tuesday. We'll see what happens over the next 24 to 48 to see if we get more parabolic or if we get a pullback here. But I don't know. I think we're all in agreement that we could be seeing a new all-time high before the halving. So
yes,
we'll see if that actually plays out. That's only, less than 60 days away.
Are you really going to grow your beard?
Hell yeah.
Until we get an all-time high?
Full mountain
Guys,
man.
keep buying. Otherwise, I'm going to be looking like
please.
a homeless man.
I'm just kidding.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for watching. Go to wetalkmoney.com/community if you want to check out our wealth building community. Leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform and make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Take us away.
Thanks for joining us. Did you say give us a review? Yes, please give us a review. That's
all right.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.